Hi everybody, my name is Kim, and welcome back to Bookmarks and Breadsticks. Welcome back to Bookmarks and Breadsticks. It is March 27th. There's only 4 days in the end of March. I am going to be filming my March wrap up and stats in 2 parts. I want to show you guys what I've hauled, what I've read, and then at the end I'll give you what my stats are. Because remember, the goal of 2021 is to reduce the number of physical books on my TBR. If you haven't seen the video already, I'll link it in the cards. I spent a good 6 hours wrapping every single physical book I had on my TBR, and I unwrap a couple every month so that I still get the surprise and delight of having books. Now, unfortunately, that hasn't stopped me from buying books, but I am trying to be more aware of the plus minuses throughout each month. So let's get started. I now have this box that sits on my desk. It was originally like a crate that came with food for a production, and now this is where I've been storing books that shaking camera. This is where I've been storing books I acquire each month, so it keeps me accountable. These books then will get wrapped and put on my TBR. I'm pointing because off camera is where that bookshelf is. Okay. So my most recent book I just grabbed is Mark Bittman's Animal Vegetable Junk. And I bought this at Volume Bookstore, a local bookstore in Chicago, because they are actually closing one of their locations as a result of COVID and a couple other things, probably high rent. And I was volunteering, helping to pack up some of the last of their things, and I just wanted to give them one last purchase. So this was very much an impulse buy. I hadn't planned this one. This is a 2021 publication too, so I tend not to buy as new releases unless I've pre-ordered them, but I really like Volume Books Cafe. They're not going out of business. They're just closing this one location. But this is a really great example of why your money matters, and you should consider always buying locally and investing your dollar in your local community. If the book isn't on their shelves, they can order it for you from a publisher. So that's my public service announcement of supporting small bookstores. Don't give your money to Amazon. Give them to the people that matter. The next 2 books are 2 books I actually won in an Instagram giveaway from 10 Speed Press. So first off, thank you so much, 10 Speed Press. This was awesome, and they're food writing, food adjacent books. So not only did I win an Instagram giveaway, which is already rare, but they're actually books that I really, really wanted that weren't just fantasy giveaways, I guess. So the first one is Just Eat by Barry Estabrook. If the name sounds familiar, Estabrook is the author of Tomatoland, which made my list of top books in 2020. Barry Estabrook is going on a dieting journey. He tries the most popular diets of our time, investigating the diet gurus, sorting out the contradictory advice, and examining the science behind the programs that reveal how we should and shouldn't be dieting. I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about this one, not because I don't like Barry Estabrook, but I am someone who's struggled with my weight my entire life. I have a nutrition coach and a powerlifting coach, and I am excited. I hope that this is an expose where it's just like diets suck. I hope so. The other book that I won from 10 Speed Press is Hooked, Food, Free Will, and How the Food Giants Exploit Our Addictions by Michael Moss. I think I've talked about this in a different vlog I had last week. I am very, very excited. I have never read Salt, Sugar, Fat, so I do have to look through the back catalog of Michael Moss, but these are standalone books, and it's brand new, and very excited. So thank you again, 10 Speed Press. 3 books in. The next 2 are 2 books that I got. I was inspired because it's Women's History Month, and I wanted to feel more confident recommending to this group and this channel food writers, food critics that are from female voices. So I have Gail Simmons, Talking with My Mouth Full, her memoir, and I have Gail Green's memoir, Insatiable. Gail Green is an OG food writer from New York, and she was the restaurant critic for New York Magazine. Now, Gail Simmons was a food critic and taster from Canada, and is more recently better well known as being one of the judges in the Top Chef franchise. So 2 books, got them used off of thriftbooks.com. Actually, I think the only book I paid full price for this month was the Mark Bittman book. So everything else is bought used and secondhand. So 2 female food writer voices, 2 books I won, and 1 full price book. So far, 5. The next one is The Poison Squad by Deborah Blum. One chemist's single-minded crusade for food safety at the turn of the 20th century. So this is really exciting, and I just need to read. Oh my God, this is a whole paragraph. But essentially, I'm not going to read it. I've changed my mind because it's my channel. I do what I want. The Poison Squad, this chemist wants to understand the ingredients added into our food, a lot of those preservatives and chemicals, and what is the human tolerance for them. Where is the line of how much we as people can consume before we get sick? Just like how people say, like, soda, diet sodas, carcinogenics, etc. This is the Poison Squad, and this is from the 20th century. So we're going way back in time. And I heard about this book through the Gastropod, a food and history podcast, food science history podcast. And I have another book, one I got from Rakuten Books, about the introduction of artificial flavors and chemicals in food. So I want to read these 2 books together and hopefully do a book duo. So I'm not gonna wrap this one because I'm hoping if I can finish my 5 books on my TBR, this would be the next book I would read. Next up, I had a gift card not a gift card, but a deal that was going to expire. So I picked up Everything is Under Control, a memoir with recipes by Phyllis Gant. It's very, very short. It's very tiny. It's very cute. I have had my eye on this book for 2 years, and it's been reviewed, like the back, like Ruth Reichel wrote a blurb for this, and like Ruth Reichel is one of my favorite food writers. So I'm very excited. This will get wrapped. And then the final nonfiction book. Oh, no, I lied. Okay. Next one is Fruit Hunters. This is also now a feature-length documentary by Adam Leith Golner, a story of nature, adventure, commerce, and obsession. I read, oh my gosh, what is the name of that book? I know I have it on here. Hold on, guys. The Food Explorer by Daniel Steele. The Food Explorer by Daniel Stone was a really interesting book. And it got me really interested about the people who travel the world looking for new fruits and vegetables, because there are still new fruits and vegetables to be discovered. So I've had this one on my radar for a little while. I got this at Open Books for $6. The last nonfiction book I got, I actually am not putting on my wrapped TBR. So there was a sale at Open Books last month where all the used books were 50% off. I purchased from them The Big Oyster by Mark Kurlansky. This book, unfortunately, got sold in person before the catalog could be updated online when I made my purchase. So I actually didn't get the book from Open Books. I still bought myself a copy from Unabridged Bookstores. That's another small bookstore in Chicago. I am shipping this one off straight away to my mom. This was a book the books I bought in that Open Book sale are books that I will only see in Christmas, months from now. So this book is going with that order because I really do want this book, but it's not going to get wrapped. I hope that distinction makes sense. It was an opportunity where tons of books were now, instead of $6, $2 to $3, and I really wanted to take advantage, but recognized I have a lot of books on my TBR, and my family's always wondering what to get me, and these are books I knew I was going to ask for, so I took advantage. Okay. The last 2 books I acquired this month are fiction books. So I do keep a running stack of fiction books that are not wrapped because I am a mood reader and sometimes I do need a break from all the nonfiction I read. One is Recipe for a Perfect Wife by Karma Brown, and the other is A Faux Love Story by Lone Lee. I am super excited. I'm ahead on my reading in March, so I'm about to start a different fiction book. Darius the Great Deserves Better. So what you'll see in my stats in this latter half of this video, what I try to do, even when I'm buying fiction books, even though they're not wrapped and they don't count for the TBR, it's not an excuse for me to buy suddenly 100 fiction books. That defeats the purpose. So I am trying for every new fiction book that shows up on that shelf to pull a fiction book off and mood read it in some capacity. So net, I will have this be included in part of my stats, but they don't count towards the overall unwrapping TBR project. Okay, so that is part 1 of this video. I will be back in a couple days to film the final wrap-up because I still have 2 books I'm currently in the middle of reading and hoping I can get to before the end of March, and then I will give you guys my final stats. I'll be back soon. Okay. Hey everyone, it's Kim back for part 2 of my wrap up / keeping myself accountable, and I'll tell you all the books I read. But first, I wanted to give a big shout out to Reckitt Press and University of Chicago Press for sending me a publisher's copy, an ARC, whatever you want to call it, of The Culinary Crescent, A History of Middle Eastern Cuisine. And I also got Delicioso, The History of Food in Spain. This cover might look very familiar because it looks just like the Savoir-Faire book I read this month. So this is another book, part of their Food and Nations series. So I will be doing a full review of these 2 books and the overall Food and Nations series for Reckitt Books and University of Chicago Press. Thank you so much again for sending these to me. Okay, now to tell you what I read this month. And there was a lot. So let's start with trying to think back of everything that I unwrapped for March. And there were a couple books that were not unwrapped, but I wanted to read. One was Savoir-Faire, A History of Food in France. I won't go into too much detail in this because there's a full review coming, but did I read? So that's a check mark against what I wanted to read in March. The 2 books that I unwrapped, that I did complete, We the Eaters, check mark. I did enjoy this book. It's a little bit older, but this is a really easy and approachable way. If you're wondering, what can I do, little old me in my own home, to help impact the global food system and how you can change the world, this is a great approachable book to start. I read my other unwrapped book, Ice Cream, by Helen Dunmore. So this was actually a set of short stories, and it was nice to read fiction. I can't say I didn't enjoy it, like I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it either. There were definitely some short stories I liked in here more than others, but I do have to say that Dunmore is really, her strength is creating the worlds in these short stories very quickly. I think I prefer longer books versus short stories because I'm very driven by character development more than anything else, but could I imagine the worlds for all of these stories? Yes. I also, sorry for my camera shakes, by the way, throughout this, you're gonna have to deal. Check mark, I also finished The Monk of Mocha by Dave Eggers. So this was on my list for March, excited to have gotten that done. I don't know what video at this point I've filmed. Oh, in my favorite books of 2021 so far, Monk of Mocha is on here. I talk about it in a little bit more detail. I love this book. I don't rate books anymore, but like 5 stars, very engaging, love the cover. So I'm glad that the outside was as beautiful as the inside. Other book I finished, American Cuisine and How It Got Its Way by Paul Friedman. If you haven't already checked it out, I did a live show with Rosie since we buddy read it together. I'll link it in the cards. Another really fantastic book. So the good news is I read all 6 books. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What was the other book I wanted to read this month? I had 6 books on my TBR. Oh, one of them was Persepolis, which I haven't finished. It's totally fine. But everything I put on my unwrapping for March, I finished, which is awesome. I actually even read more books. I actually went to my shelf and unwrapped a couple. So I actually unwrapped 3 books off my shelves. One More Croissant for the Road, a memoir by Felicity Cloak, The Garlic Papers by Stanley Crawford, and American Ice Cream by Kirsten Mersk Hendershot. So I actually was ahead by 3. Awesome on my unwrapping. I also read a piece of fiction from my mood reading fiction TBR. It's like an unofficial TBR, but I think I do need to start keeping track of what books are not being wrapped so I can still not suddenly buy like 50 fiction books. But I also read this. So all in all, I have read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 books in March. It is also March 29th, so there's still technically 2 more days. I doubt I'm gonna finish a book. It could happen, but it's Monday. I'm filming this already. If I do, I'll put something. Honestly, I don't care. I'll add it to April. So I've given you what I've hauled. I've given you what I've read. What I am finding is it's getting more and more confusing to keep track of books I'm adding to the wrapped pile, books I took off and unwrapped. And also I want to keep a better accountability on those fiction and mood reading books, as I mentioned. Also, do you count arcs towards your wrapping TBR because I didn't purchase them? What about the 2 books I won this month? So in this next segment, we're probably going to switch to computer mode, and I'll show you the new type of spreadsheet I'm building for myself to help keep myself accountable, and we'll go from there. It's going to be a long wrap up, but we're all learning. Okay, so that concludes this very long-winded wrap and haul for the month of March. Let me know in the comments below, are there any new books on my shelves that you're interested in? Are there any you'd want to see reviews? Don't forget, if you want to have a buddy read partner for any of these books, I have booked a reading partner for May. Well, April, I'm reading with Amanda over at the Curly Reader. May, I have someone reading Sour Grapes. And then in June, I have a fun project coming with Olive, but I could still buddy read in June. So I would love, love, love to continue these buddy reads. It's been so much fun. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, share this video with your friends, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
I apologize in general. This is probably not the easiest thing to read because I'm recording my computer from my camera, because apparently every option to record my screen on this computer has failed me. But essentially, I have broken out my books into a couple new categories. Wrapped books, which literally are wrapped in wrapping paper. Mood reads, PR arcs, etc. Pre-orders and Christmas gifts, and buddy reads. The yellow indicates books I've already read this year. The pink are new books I've purchased this year and added to the lists. And the whites are the carryovers from last year. And don't worry, here are all the carryovers for my nonfiction, excuse me. So this is the method of the madness going forward. Obviously, you want your yellows to increase, your pinks to stay the same, and these whites to decrease. But this was actually a pretty good visual way to look at this. It's a work in progress, guys. I will link this in my description so you guys can view any of these books if you're interested. But you can also click the link to my bookshop.org, and that's where you'll be able to see all of these books and purchase them yourself should you be interested. If you're looking for books that I already read this year, if you go to my affiliate store, you will find the list right under it of books I read this year. And you'll see everything else that's on my wish list and a couple of suggested reading lists as well, plus the books I read in 2019 and 2020. This is an affiliate page for bookshop.org, but every purchase you make, 10% supports local bookstores by shopping online with Bookshop. This is a great alternative from buying from Amazon. I will receive a small commission, but I think, honestly, I've received enough commissions to buy maybe 2 books. And my commission is smaller than the 10% that is going to these local bookstores. I actually buy almost all of my books here if I'm not already buying them used from from Open Books, or if I'm buying them from a independent bookstore locally. So yeah, thanks. Talk to you later. Hope this makes sense. Let me know what you think of this. If you got a better method to the madness, I'd love to know it. Bye. Okay, I came back with one more thought. Here's a better way to explain this. I have read 15 books off of my wrapped TBR, but I purchased, in this year alone, 17 books off this for this TBR. So that means net, I have 2 more books than when I started in the year. So if I had, sorry, let me do the math this way. So at the end of February, I was up 4 books than I started. Because I read 9 books this month, I've now gotten it to +2 since the beginning of the year. So it's not a perfect journey, but the good news is I was able to, at this point, yeah, I've read 15 books from the list, but I bought 17 books. So there's a net of +2 since I started in January, but that is an improvement from last month. Last month I was up 4 books, right? From when I started at the beginning of the year. Now I'm only up 2, which means I've actually taken 2 books off the shelves which is a positive thing. It's still a -2 compared to where I started at the beginning of January. But basically, it's an improvement from last month. I hope that made sense.